Today we're going to extreme declutter my studio space using my own version of the KonMari method. So there's 6 categories that I'm going to be clearing out. Starting with my art supplies, my books, my paper, my kimono or miscellaneous items, my digital clutter, and my clothing. And I do think I have been pretty good. Like, I don't have that much stuff, but we'll see. So for the first step, I'm going to be getting everything out of these drawers, out of my shelves, and I'm going to be putting all my art supplies on my bed here. And that way I have to purposefully place things back into position. And this is just going to show me the pure amount of stuff I have. So I'm a bit scared, but mainly I'm ready to get this over with. Since I got into art school in America last year, I've been procrastinating, getting my spaces in shape and orderly, so when I pack my suitcases and move abroad, I'm not leaving a load of crap behind for my mom to deal with. Unfortunately, because I like making things, I also have to have the space to store my projects and the supplies to paint them or build them or design them in the first place. So this turned into a massive task for me to do. I'm just almost in a state of shock. I didn't realize how much stuff I just let accumulate in this space. Like, I've got a Macbeth quotation book from like 2016. I just don't need all this shit. It's just been weighing me down. I don't... Mental breakdown aside, I also didn't realize how emotional this whole process would be for me. I hadn't done a proper clean out or consolidation of every single object I own in my whole entire life. So that meant that there was stuff floating around that I made or that came into my possession at the start of this YouTube channel and even before then. And each object has its own energy, memories, and emotions associated with it, most of which for me were not all that positive because it has been a rough few years. But I pushed through anyway and decided to start with the easiest task, which was sorting out which of my pens worked and which ones didn't, so I could thank them and let them go. It's so hard. Like, a lot of these things are functional things as well. They're not just like aesthetic things. Clothes is easy. I can just think, does it spark joy? And then if that like kind of firework feeling comes off, then I keep it. And if it doesn't spark joy, then I throw it away. But for like printer ink or a glue gun, like, I have to think, does it spark joy? But also, am I gonna use it? And I don't have or even remotely intend to get a printing press. So thank you, printer ink, but I feel like you'll be more useful in the hands of somebody else. As I acclimatized to the clearing out process, it became much less hard to let things go. It's such a mystery why I kept all of this stuff around so long. Like, what am I gonna do with 20 dead bottles of acrylic paint? I think there's definitely a psychological and societal conditioning element to why most people accumulate loads and loads of stuff that would be interesting to write an academic paper on, but that's slightly out of my range of qualifications right now, I'm not gonna lie, so I'll leave that for you guys to do. I personally had justified keeping all of these papers as I didn't know what would come in useful in revising for my A-levels, so I just kept it all, even though I didn't look through any of this stuff, not even once when I was studying. I don't know in what realm of this universe that I need all of these photos or even my old GCSE textbook. Like, why do I need a GCSE French textbook? All of the info is in my head. I feel so much lighter already and I'm not even like half of the way through clearing out all this shit. Now, before we proceed any further, there is something that I have been neglecting. That is to do this. Okay, so clearing out my art supplies suddenly turned into clearing out all of my paper, and I'm nearly almost done with that now, but the last thing I need to do is clear out these sketchbooks. Because, newsflash, not all the art that I make is good. So some of it needs to go. I found it kind of easy to clear out my old art since I've changed so much over the last few years, meaning it was easier to see it more objectively as I feel almost completely removed from the version of Monsieur Buzzy Martin that made these things. Also, just as an interesting aside, I find it crazy how many comments and emails I've received from people who actually think that Buzzy is an adjective and my first name is Martin. So I feel like I should clear up the rumors once and for all. Buzzy is, in fact, my first name, Martin is my surname, and yes, sometimes I too think that I am the living reincarnation of an anime character. Anyway, moving on from clearing out all of my old school notes, I decided to tackle one of the biggest tasks in my tiny studio space: my art supply drawers and my files on my shelves. I have been known to treat my possessions like a GTA character, meaning that when I can't see them in my head, they don't exist. This is where I put things that I don't want to perceive anymore. I just want them out of my sightline. I also rediscovered a load of my old, unfinished sketchbooks that I was able to consolidate, cut up, and Frankenstein back together because I had lied to myself for too long, saying that I was going to go back and finish them. My process here was, for every item, I would ask myself if it sparked joy, and then if it didn't, I would ask myself if I realistically was going to use it again, and if the answers to both of those questions was no, then I would set it aside for donation to charity or to be recycled or binned, making sure that I was ruthless and purposeful with what I kept. Since I used a glue stick to stick in most of this artwork, it was quite easy to remove as the bond with the page wasn't that strong, but for the places where I drew directly onto the paper, I just ended up cutting out those pages completely. And I did have a lot of sketchbooks to go through, so this was a time-consuming but worthwhile process because it was really nice to watch that recycling bag next to me slowly fill up with these things that I've been holding on to for ages that I was now clearing out of my life. And with that, I was done with the shed, which is my name for my little studio, and I was ready to have a big fat nap. Hi, so maybe it's a few days or a few weeks later, but I figured out that the limiting factor on my clothes is how much I can fit in my suitcase. And I know this is a decidedly un-minimalist way of looking at things, but compared to some of the other wardrobes I've seen, I really do not have that much clothing. And if I cleared out any more, then I would run the risk of having to do laundry every single week at uni because I just didn't have enough clothes. And I like my lions on the weekend, so that really does not align with my fantasy. What I'm going to do is I've got this suitcase here. I'm going to do like a preliminary packing thing. I've got another suitcase over there and we'll just see how much I can cram into my suitcase. And while I'm taking things out, I will also separate some stuff that maybe is a bit older, you know, that maybe needs to go, maybe I've kept onto it too long. And yeah, that's my clothes. Hopefully it's as simple as I'm making it sound. It really was not that simple at all, and I vastly overestimated the amount of stuff that I could fit in these suitcases. I actually ended up having to buy bigger ones the day before my flight to the US because there was no way in hell I was going to fit all my stuff into these two little tiny baby-sized suitcases. And even then, I ended up wearing about half my wardrobe on the flight. So seeing my complete dumb optimism here is really funny. Okay, that's like one suitcase full here, and then go. Okay, I'm pretty sure I can probably just about fit everything that I want to in. I don't know, this hasn't given me any further clarity on it at all. Like, I thought by laying out all my clothes like this and then kind of mock packing, I would have a clearer idea of what I can and can't take, but I don't want to get all these clothes off their hangers here. This is not going to help the stress dreams at all. I think the moment of truth will only be when I'm actually packing for real to go on that plane. Anyway, pivoting away from that mess over there, let's focus on this mess here. I need to clear out these books because some of them are meant for 10-year-olds, let's just say that, and I no longer need to keep them. Let's just zone it down, you know, minimalize it into just the ones that I'm gonna read again, which is probably just gonna be the Hunger Games trilogy, and that's it. I will seriously defend the Hunger Games as the supreme comfort book all the way until the bitter end. Seriously, no matter what you're going through, I always take comfort in the fact that it could be worse. I could be living in a society that forces children to fight to the death on screen for entertainment right now. However, recording this voiceover from the point of view of living in America for 6 weeks and seeing somebody step on an embroidery needle, get it embedded in their foot, and have to refuse to go to hospital because it would be too expensive, makes me think that that reality might not be too far off now. I put all those books downstairs and now they're out of my life, but I did discover more that I didn't realize I had, that I haven't read, that I put on my shelves. So it feels like I have about the same amount that I started with, even though I've cleared out like a whole shelf load of books, but it's fine. We move. Now it's time to face this massive pile of books and papers and things that I have just been procrastinating clearing out because I got them out like a month ago when I was filming this video for the first time, and they've just sat on my floor ever since. What do I have to say to keep you back? Most of these little pamphlets here I actually picked up when I was visiting universities in America, so this was one of those weird full circle moments for me. In my last few weeks in the UK before moving, I was filled with such anxious, excited energy that sometimes it would be hard to sleep at night. I put loads of pressure on myself this summer with big expectations of the things I was going to create, the plans I was going to make, and the journeys I was going to go on. But in the end, I'm just glad that I gave myself a rest and allowed myself some time to see my friends and say thank you. And also goodbye to this magical space that I've lived in for the last 18 years. Thank you all for joining me on this adventure into the depths of my drawers and the back of my closet, now that I'm no longer in there. And I will see you all in the next one very soon, hopefully, depending on whether I get into an existential crisis or not, but we'll see. Goodbye.